Evening, Gene. You're muted, Gene.
How's that?
That's better.
That's it. How's the lobster game going?
It dropped off last week and then picked up again this week.
It's like the stock market.
Yeah, well, we'll go out tomorrow and see how it goes.
Did you go out today?
Nah, my stern man wasn't available.
Who's your stern man?
Tommy Maz.
Oh, how is he?
He's good.
Good. Tell him I said hello.
Okay.
How we doing here?
Oh, Tony's here. Dan's here.
Tony's not saying hello.
No picture of him yet. Good.
We still with you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
See a lot of night fishing taking place.
Quite a bit of it.
Yeah, especially out here in the bay, out off a short beach. I was trying to I was going to ask somebody, I'll ask you, what's the difference in the lights? One or several are bright white and others are green.
Green will bring in the squid.
They will.
Yeah.
Ah,
Why any light will confuse the fish thinking it's daylight and come up.
that's what it does. That's great. Thanks.
It's better known as torch fishing. They used to do it by lit torches.
Well, it's not very much of a sport when you're drawing fish up by light. I
No,
don't
it
think.
is.
Huh?
No, it's not a good sport.
No, I don't think so.
Squid are still hopping at the wharf.
Yeah, now what do you use to catch those?
It's a special hook with a lot of bobs on it. And what you do is kind of snag them.
Like maybe a half a dozen or a dozen on a spool.
No, it's a multi hook. It's like a dozen. It's circular, and it has very sharp, about a dozen sharp hooks all to get all in the circle.
Ah,
If you touch it, it will go through in your skin, one of the hooks, but it doesn't go in deep.
that's good.
So what you're basically trying to do is they'll grab it, and their fingers will get wrapped around it. Or
And if you would
or
have
if you
dropped that,
cast it in, Gene, if you cast it in, there's sometimes you can grab your skin.
now if you would have dropped that rig in, how many squid would you catch a
It's one. It's a one. It's a lure with one giant hook on it, or multiple little hooks.
right,
So you get one at a time.
one squid?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The good people let them ink in the water and don't let them come up. Or if they have a 5-gallon bucket of water, they stick it in that so it inks there. The bad people let it ink all over the wharf, all over the boats, everything.
No kidding.
Yeah. When they pull them up and out of the water, and you know how it swings,
Yeah.
real fast. That the ink goes all over the place, like a spray bottle on the loose.
Hey, what's the legal size of stripers now?
Stripers are the same rules as last year. 28 inches to below 31 inches.
So it has to be between 28 and 31?
below 31.
Oh, okay.
So you see a lot of people holding up a 40-inch or something, they're taking pictures and hopefully throwing them back.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, they're trying to
Interesting.
rebuild up a stock.
How's
Well, the
the
game's
ramp?
all here.
How's the ramp?
Slippery.
Is it?
Yeah,
When's the next dead low?
sometime this month.
Well, harbor master should know that.
Not off the top of my head, Gene, but it'll be within the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
I'm just kidding you.
All right.
Seems like we have a low tide every month.
So we try to time that for the cleaning.
Yeah.
Whenever the guy's ready to clean, that's when the low tide comes.
We
the
think of
tide-
it the other way, but it could very well be that.
Well,
I think they've done a great job.
it has to be at low tide during their working hours.
Or,
It doesn't get done.
well, couldn't they work something where they could get time and a half or double time? It would be well worth it to get as far down that ramp as you can get.
True.
It gets done.
Yeah,
It-
it gets.
Gets done. It's the end of the month.
Yeah.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, hey Gene, hey Rob, hey Tony,
Josh. Hey, Gene.
Dan, Laurie, Brendan, Leslie, Diane.
Get them all.
Yeah. Um, okay, it is 6:30 p.m. on August 7th, 2024, and the Nahant Board of Selectmen are now in session. We have some opening comments. First, I'd like to mention the passing of Larry Bradley, longtime Nahant resident. Larry passed away, I think, about a week ago. His services were Sunday. Larry was a good guy. A lot of involvement in the town for many years. His wife, Polly, just passed away 6 weeks ago. So tough time for the Bradley family, but I have a lot of fond memories of Larry getting out there and getting on his boat, even into his 90s. So a lot of admiration for his determination. And years ago, he was the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee here in Nahant, on which I served also. And it's a pleasure working with Larry. And just wanted to mention his passing.
He and Paulie, finest kind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
On to more mundane things. Hazardous Waste Collection Day, August 31st and October 12th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's noon at the Lynn DPW. Certain fees apply. For a list of accepted material costs and more, visit the community calendar at nahant.org for more information. So this is, paint and used oil and things like that. There is metal, white goods, TV, computer, etc. recycling the last Saturday of each month from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon behind the DPW garage. Nahant resident sticker parking is required. Certain fees may apply. Visit nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. The compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. A 2024 resident parking sticker is required. Visit the Public Works page at nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. As a reminder, no dogs are allowed on the beach between May 1st and September 30th of each year, except, of course, Doggy Beach. Parking stickers, 2024 resident parking stickers are still available for purchase at nahant.org. The stickers are $10 each. All outstanding bills must be paid to the town and a census completed before purchasing. The FY25 fee schedule. We've had a public comment period on that, which was scheduled to end today. You can look at the fee schedule on nahant.org, as well as the proposed changes, and send all the comments and questions to ktaylor@nahant.org. Tony, I don't, you and I spoke, I don't know if you've spoken to the other selectmen about the possibility of extending that for another week or two. Is there any other comments on the
Yeah,
fee
well-
schedule?
What I'd like to do is have the board, we like I said, we didn't really receive many comments. And especially didn't receive many comments related to inspectional services fees, and the town clerk fees. So I'd like the Board of Selectmen to vote to approve those two. On the parking fees, the parking sticker fees, we haven't received a ton of comment, but I know it's been somewhat of a popular conversation around town. And even if you approve that tonight, it wouldn't go into effect until January 1st. So I don't see the harm in maybe extending the comment period for that item and encouraging residents to submit comments to the Board of Selectmen over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Is that coming up on our agenda later? Sorry for my. Is that on the agenda? As a vote? Or do we need to vote to extend that? Sure,
I don't believe it is.
okay.
So that was extending the period as far as the parking stickers, the beach stickers, and inspectional services. And what was the third one, Tony?
The clerk's fees.
Clerk's fees.
We haven't, Tony, you said we haven't received any comments on either the clerk's fees or the inspectional services fees. And we haven't, I assume we haven't received any on parking sticker fees. I did see some comments on Facebook about parking sticker fees, some confusion. Anyway, I'm fine with maybe we should approve the fees. We've had a couple weeks to comment and we haven't gotten any, and they're based on benchmarking against 30 or 35 similar communities. We're right in the middle with all those fees. So I would think we would just approve those. If we want to keep the parking open a little bit longer, I don't think it's a situation where we're going to just say, well, we're not going to raise them, because as we've explained a couple times now, the things those parking stickers fund have gone up in excess of the amount we're proposing raising them. But if people want a chance to chime in, or if we want to make the difference between the buy early and buy late smaller, I'm fine with that.
Perhaps we should put something in on Facebook. It seems as though social media gets the greatest attention, and if we put something on there, we're likely to get something back, I think. Just a thought.
Yeah, we did that, Gene, and we'll do it again. We'll republish it and say that the comment period for that part, for the parking sticker fees, has been extended for 2 weeks, how to submit comment, and then, further explain the proposal and the reasoning behind it.
Oh, great. No, I missed that. I don't go on there often, but I missed that.
So we're just
Good idea.
extending the period as far as the beach stickers. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we're discussing. I'm trying to, I'm looking down the agenda to see if, we'll have an opportunity to vote on that. How could we,
I don't remember it being on there, Josh.
it's not on there.
It is,
We voted last time to approve the fees with a comment period today, but not to vote today. Sorry, I don't remember exactly how we did this.
well,
Um,
today was the deadline.
Today's
Yeah.
the decision. So without it being clearly written that the board was gonna be voting on these in the agenda, why don't we just um plan on taking the vote at the next meeting?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, the next meeting is, the 21st. So let's extend the comment period on the, parking, and you can put it on Facebook, Tony, if you would, till the 20th on the parking fees. And, we'll vote on the 21st. Get it on
Okay,
the, that sound good?
Is there a vote for that extension?
I don't think we need to take a vote on it.
Okay.
All right, so I'll stop.
Okay, so, continuing with opening comments, the Nahant Market by the Sea are scheduled for August 17th and September 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Flash Road Park. Become a vendor, visit the market page at nahant.org for an application. Also, there's a vacancy. The planning board currently has 2 open seats for alternate members. Send letters of interest to Kay Taylor and planning board at, Kay Taylor at nahant.org and planning board at nahant.org by August 14th. So that's 1 week from today. If you're interested in that, and I certainly hope that, we get some interest there. We had 4 applicants for the opening, that we made an appointment for last meeting. So, hopefully those 3 people will put their hats in a ring, and, maybe we'll get some other people too. So there's 2 seats. So, participation is encouraged. That is all I have for opening comments. Gene or Rob, do you have anything additional you'd like to mention?
I'd like to jump in here quick, Josh. We have a variety of watercraft leaning against the wall down on Tudor Beach. And I found a very small percentage of them are actually registered with the town. I can understand some confusion on that because the original approval of storing watercraft on the beach was focused on kayaks, but we now have a large percentage of stand-up paddle boards. The form which one would fill out in order to store something down there is being revised as we speak to include stand-up paddle boards along with kayaks. And in respect to the fact that we are entering what is frequently our hurricane season around here, it's extremely important that people register whatever they have down there with the town. There are many reasons to do that. One is that we're going to send you a sticker that will with a number on it, and you put that on your watercraft, and if it is carried out to sea, we will be able to identify the owner. That we want to be able to contact you if part of the agreement in that form that you'll fill out says that you will remove it from the beach prior to any named storms. So we want to be able to contact you directly if we're concerned with any delays in that respect. And last but not least is that the forms include an indemnification for the town and a waiver of liability for the town in the town's favor. And we need all of that in what is basically a fairly short 1-page form. We need you to submit these to Mary Lowe at Town Hall. And as I said, you will receive a sticker in return, which we would like you to put on the watercraft so we can identify it.
Hey, Robbie, what's the watercraft requirement?
I'm not sure I follow your question, Gene.
Size? Is there a particular size that?
Oh, yeah, it's basically anything that's attached to the wall down there. We're not only worried about the watercraft, but we're also worried about getting things from detached from the fence, from the railings, before the storm comes in, because
Yeah.
we could end up with damaged railings as a result
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for bringing that up, Robin. It's, it seems like, oh, well, why should I have to do this? But I remember a couple of years ago, I was out of my boat and there was a Coast Guard helicopter roaming around and a Coast Guard boat, and apparently they had found a kayak that had washed out to sea from Swampscott, and they're wondering, is there a person floating? So I mean, God knows how much a Coast Guard helicopter costs per hour, but if nothing else, save the expense of that by, if they had seen, okay, this kayak belongs to Rob Thibault, here's his phone number, call them, yeah, I'm on my sofa at home, they wouldn't have to launch the helicopter. So if the reason isn't obvious to you, that would be another reason. So thanks for mentioning that, Rob.
You're welcome, Josh. And it is very common, and not obviously just from our beaches, but from beaches around us. The Harbor Masters Department gets 2 or 3 calls a year to go out and look at these. And unfortunately, in many cases, there's no way of telling whether an individual had been in the watercraft before it went adrift and was out there swimming around or possibly drowned. There's no way of telling. So we need an ability to contact somebody as soon as possible to find out if there's anyone missing.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Rob or Gene?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. We'll move on to new business. We have some meeting minutes to approve. Do we want to make a motion?
Ravi, you want to take the motions?
Yep, sure. Let me just get to the right page here.
Okay,
I move that
go ahead.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 26th, 2024 and July 10th, 2024.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
There is, and unfortunately, I didn't notice it until late this afternoon. The June 26 minutes uses, as is common, our initials for people that are involved in making a motion and seconding it. And at some point, RT became RC, as in Charles. So I would like to see us go back to that and just change it back to RT where applicable.
Okay.
Good pickup.
So, in the past, we've had similar editorial things like that and approved them on subject to that being changed. Are you okay with that same approach, or should we defer it to next?
I'm very comfortable with it. I assume that's what we would do.
All right, so let's revise the motion I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 26, 2024 and July 10th, 2024, subject to changing the initials to RT, indicating Robert Thibault
On
Second.
June 26th.
on the June 26 minutes.
Yeah.
We got a second, and with that, any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Thibault, aye.
Josh Edrum, aye. Next on the agenda is the Girl Scout Troop 62860 presentation, the Nahant Girl Scout Beach Cleanup Stations. Let's see, do we have some Girl Scout representatives here to discuss this?
I'm really excited about this. This looks great.
Laurie Nugent looks a lot younger now. She's way. Go ahead, Miss Nugent.
Thank you, Mr. Barletta and Ms. Taylor, for inviting us to the Selectmen meeting tonight to share our Girl Scout Silver Award project. My name is Maeve Nugent, and I'm a member of Nahant Girl Scout Troop 62860. A few months ago, my troop met with Mr. Barletta and Miss Kristen Taylor to talk about a few ways we could help improve the coastal resilience in our town. Mr. Barletta had an idea that was shared with him by Miss Mia Corina, a Nahant neighbor. Miss Corina shared an idea for cleanup stations that supplied baskets to collect trash in our towns. My troop asked the town if they would help support the project, and Mr. Barletta and Miss Taylor agreed. It was a great project for the Girl Scouts to take on and make happen. And so Eliana has something.
My name is Ileana, and I'm excited to tell you about the beach basket project. My troop met with many people from the town who were able to help us with this project to help keep our beaches clean all summer. Miss V. Patek helped us request money from the Nahant Swim Organization. Mike and Peg Curran designed and built the cleanup stations. And
Oops, I think you got muted,
Sorry.
Eliana.
Sorry, and invited us to their workshop to help finish the boxes for the stations. We are now ready to install the stations, and we hope that the DPW can help us with the next week. The stations will have the yellow baskets that people can take to use as they walk the beach, so they can pick up trash. They can return the baskets at the end of the beach, where there will be another cleanup station located.
Go ahead, Maeve.
Thank you for listening to our idea, and we hope this project encourages people from Nahant and visitors to help keep our beaches clean. And thank you, Ms. Patek, Mr. and Mrs. Curran, Mr. Barletta, Mrs. Taylor, and Swim for the donation.
Well, thank you, Maeve, and you too, Eliana, and all the others that
Thank
participated
you.
in this. So, just so people know what this looks like, it's basically when you go into a supermarket, there's, you get the rolling shopping carts or a handheld thing basket that you hold in your hand. So there'll be a bin of these shopping type baskets that you can help yourself to and use to pick up trash along the way. Great idea. I've seen this in other communities. It's a wonderful idea. I'm so glad you girls have made the effort to make this happen. Tony, I don't know if is it easy for you to share what this thing looks like? There was an image of it sent in the backup motions
Oh, okay.
that Kristen sent a little
Sure.
earlier.
Yep, hold on a second. I was just looking for that picture.
It's an outstanding project. Well done.
So,
Thank you.
so Maeve, what does the Silver Star project mean? Is that something that you get a badge for you? Oh, or the Silver Star is a level at the Girl Scout in the Girl Scout troop?
So it's the highest award like my Girl Scout troop can earn right now. So
Yeah, that's
Nice
great.
project.
So thank you, Maeve. And we're seeing an image of the baskets and the holders now. It's a great idea. So glad you guys took this on. You girls took this on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Girl Scouts. Tuesday afternoon, we will be installing, we'll have a little ceremony, take some pictures installing one of these stations. There'll be 2 on Short Beach, and there'll be 2 on Tudor Beach. And they'll be separated at each on Tudor Beach at the metal stairs of each at the access points with the metal stairs. And then I think on Short Beach, we're going to do Life Saving Station entrance and Spring Road entrance. So that way, as you're walking down to the beach, you can grab a basket, help keep the beach clean, and then return it at the other end. So Tuesday afternoon, we're gonna have a little ceremony, planting the first station in the ground. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Great work.
yeah, thank you, Girl Scouts. Thanks, to Swim and the others that helped you out as well. Next on the agenda is a vote to declare two DPW trucks as surplus for the purpose of a trade-in. We have a motion there.
Let's see. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to declare the two Department of Public Works 2015 Ford dump trucks as surplus for the purpose of a trade-in.
Second.
Thank you, and so some background, part of our town capital plan included the purchase of two new dump trucks for the DPW. The DPW recently received the two new dump trucks, and part of that process was to trade in the two 2015 dump trucks. So that is some background. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add, Tony.
Just the funding was approved by town meeting vote. I want to say 2022. Similar to the conversation we had at this town meeting about appropriating funds for the ambulance. The timing of receiving these vehicles after purchases had been extended by almost double what we've been used to in the past. That was the same town meeting that approved funding to purchase a new fire engine, and I believe we'll be receiving that this week, tomorrow or Friday. So we're happy to have the new vehicles in-house.
Hey, Tony, is black going to be the color?
Well, yeah, so DPW is going through a rebranding over the last few years of bringing it back to its previous color of a forest green. We ordered these trucks to be forest green. When they showed up yellow. So we're working with the company to correct that. But the new trucks that we just got delivered are actually the same color yellow as the old trucks.
Keep everybody on their toes.
I also noticed that they came with new plows, so that should better assure that we won't have any snow this winter.
Exactly.
Good thought.
Okay, any more discussion on the two new dump trucks and the disposal of the older two? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. We're gonna vote on approving some ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act spending for the compost pilot program. Do we have a motion on that?
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve American Rescue Plan Act spending in the amount of $25,000 for the composting pilot program.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I can speak to this.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
In August of 2023, in partnership with Nahant Swim, the town launched the Island Gold composting pilot program with Black Earth Compost to offer household curbside food waste collection service. The many goals of this program include environmental benefits and positive financial impacts to the cost of waste services in our community. At that time, the yearly price for an annual weekly collection through Black Earth was $229.99 plus $39.50 for their starter kit. Before the program that we launched, there were under 100 residents signed up for the program. By partnering with Black Earth, when we got to 100 residents signed up to the program, the membership cost reduced from $229.99 to $159.99 per year. And as of today, the town has 151 residents signed up to the program. So it's been very successful so far. Our next goal is to get to 200 residents or more, which would again reduce the membership cost for all members of the program. If we get to 200 or more signed up, the cost will be reduced to $139.99 per year. Residents that are enrolled in the program also are eligible for a $20 abatement on their yearly trash rate. And to launch this project, originally in 2023, the Board of Selectmen previously we've allocated $25,000 of ARPA funds to the program, and $23,250 has been spent so far. So we're asking to allocate additional ARPA funds so that we can continue the growth of the program and see more residents sign up for black earth composting, curbside collection.
Sounds great. Thank you for that background, Tony. Yeah, be nice to do 200 and get the cost down for everyone that's participating. So,
We were early adopters of the Black Earth program. We've used it for a couple, 2, maybe 3 years now. I can't remember how long it's been, but it's so easy to do business this way. As far as moving it out to the curb once a week, and the trucks come by on a very timely basis. It's amazing how friendly everybody is. They're a great organization to work with.
I'm seeing more of them around town.
yeah, me too. I'm seeing more of my neighbors putting them out. So great.
I should do it myself.
I just wanted to, if I might, I just started. I'm Leslie Smith Rosen, 18 Mayolus Road. It's a great program. I'm so proud of the town that we're doing this. And in fact, today I met with Principal Andrews of the Johnson School, and they're going to sign up to do it as a school-wide thing, integrating it into their curriculum and that sort of thing. And I'm proud that this is a program that we have and that we can talk to the kids about having that, supports environmental concerns to such a degree. So I'm really hoping that this program can continue the way it has been supported.
Yeah, thank you for that input. Any other discussion on this? Let's see,
The motion in front of you, is a typo. The total amount that you will be voting to approve today is $15,000.
50? Okay.
Yep.
15, okay.
All right. So
Can I reread?
Yeah, that would be great, Rob.
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve American Rescue Plan Act spending in the amount of $15,000 for the composting pilot program.
Seconded.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, the next couple items are for discussion. There's no vote involved. These are a couple things that Selectman Canty brought up one of them, and Selectman Tibble brought up the other at the last meeting. And so we're here to discuss these. So the first one is a discussion regarding the Board of Selectmen membership. Question of whether we want to stay as a 3-member board versus a 5-member board. So with that, Gene, since you introduced the subject, would you like to make any comment on it?
Yeah, I would. Reason being, most of the communities, in fact, I think all of the communities that I contacted locally, and of course they're bigger, they're larger populations than Nahant. So we're probably talking at communities that are 5,000 residents or greater. But the bottom line is they all have 5 select persons. Now, as I went through this, I was making some notes today, and that basically is it would provide a better distribution of the workload among 5 as opposed to 3. There'd be better selectmen accessibility to the residents of the town. Most important, better opportunity for offline discussion. And you know what I mean by that. It's something that would help us to avoid the open meeting law, in the sense that I could be talking to you, you could be talking to another member, and by the time we get to five members get to the next town meeting or the next selectmen's meeting, some discussion would have been had amongst each other in that way. Now, I don't know if that's logical. I don't know if it's legitimate, but it's something to take a look at. And there's more opportunity to participate with a larger skill base, a larger number of perspective. I'm sorry, a larger number of perspectives for perspective, particularly on difficult issues. As I was going through it and thinking about it, the one drawback to it I see, with a lot of positives, but the one drawback would be time of meetings. I mean, we've had a few meetings where we've been running into 10:30, 11 o'clock, and that's with 1, 2, or 3 of us talking on a regular basis. If you have 5 members, it's going to extend it, not exponentially, but at least to some degree, to create a greater time period. So my idea was not to take any votes, not to do anything other than to find out, A, how we go about changing the charter, and B, whether we want to do that or not.
Mhm. Okay, thanks for that input. Dan, Dan Script, would you be able to describe what the process for doing such a thing would be?
Of
Before
course.
we continue our discussion?
Yeah, we have a home rule charter, and that's governed, the amendments and the adoption is governed by Chapter 43B of the general laws. And Section 10 of that chapter goes into amendments to the home rule charter. And there are major amendments and there are minor amendments. This one is a major amendment, which it's because you're changing the constitution of the Board of Selectmen. So then it requires us to nominate and elect a charter commission. Then they have to vote. Then they have to come up with then they have to have a public hearing. Then they've got to come up with a final report. And then it eventually goes to a ballot. So this would be a pretty involved process. It takes a long time for a charter commission to convene.
And the members of the charter commission are elected.
Yep, they're elected by the registered voters. So it's a time-consuming process. Unlike what we've done in the recent past with regard to the ZBA, and I think what's the planning board, Tony? I forget. I'm maybe forgetting one, but there was another.
Sailing.
Yeah, that's right. Sailing, yeah.
Also, open space increase their numbers.
But when it comes to the selectmen, that's treated on a whole different level. That's why we need a charter commission.
Mhm.
It's
right.
interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up, because you stop and think about it. All of our other boards and commissions are in a 5+ category. Now, I know there's a difference in the level of responsibility in all of those, but at the same time, if you look at what it's taken for these other communities to get to where they are, I'm just looking at where the process starts, Dan, how long it will take. But if we are going to make a decision to make a change like that, it would be better to do it now than later because of the time element.
Yeah, well, you need to get nominations in, and I think it's 45 days of the nominations, you need an election, which means, a town election. And then they have a certain amount of time to get their hearing, the final report, and it goes to a ballot eventually. So it takes a while.
Back up a step. To create a charter commission.
Yep.
Does that require a town meeting vote, or is that just a Board of Selectmen vote, or?
No, that's a registered voter vote. There are nominations. I think a town of our size only requires, I think, 8 signatures. I might be a little off on that. In
Well,
terms
to
of
be
nominations.
elected to the commission, I understand that,
Yep.
but
Right.
to the first step of the process, I would assume is some sort of vote that we're going to pursue the effort of creating a charter commission. And my question is that, does it require a town meeting vote or not?
I
You look into
I
it.
think it needs to be proposed, I think to be proposed by a town meeting, and then it goes from there. I'd have to look into that a bit further. But I think it needs to be proposed by a town meeting, and then it goes to a commission, if I understand it correctly. But the root is that we need a charter commission. That's the root of this sort of discussion. I'm looking at the section now. Yeah, I think I'll have to look at that for a bit further for you, Tony, but it may be true that you need a town meeting vote first. And then you go from there to create a town
Hey,
charter
hey,
commission.
this was just, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll tell
but
you, I'll tell you what I think. I see your point, Gene, about adding to the skill set on the board, adding more representation to the board, distributing the load a little bit. I'm a little concerned about the level. I think it does add some complexity to coordinate 5 people versus 3 people. Tony would need to keep 5 people informed because, open meeting law exists. So, it's more effort in that way. I think it's just harder to coordinate. So I guess in my mind, the benefits don't outweigh the disadvantages. That's my initial take, just sort of pondering it over the last couple of weeks since you proposed that. A good idea, and I'm glad you brought it up, but I'm thinking no. I'll always keep an open mind, but that's my first reaction.
Gene, I think Gene made an excellent point as far as having additional members might exacerbate the problem that we have now as far as the length of our meetings in bringing additional thought process and discussions through additional people on the board. We're currently running pretty long on some of these meetings, so that's a little bit of a scary thought as far as having longer meetings than we do. And I also have very good memories of when Gene and I were on the school committee back in the 90s, and at that time the school committee was a 7-member committee, and we reduced it to 5, and quite honestly, it was like having a piano off your back. Everything seemed to move a lot more easily amongst the folks in just reducing the number. I think it's a great idea, but I'm not sure well, going with what Josh has said, I'm not sure the merits outweigh the difficulties or the challenges that come with it. So I love the idea of having more opinions and having better representation out in the town, on the streets. But I think I'm in favor of not moving on this issue at this time.
Gene,
Well, that was the whole point, was to look at this in a broad-minded way, I guess, to determine whether or not initially whether we'd have an interest in doing this.
Of course.
Only because I'm looking at these other, anybody around us, anybody and everybody around us is at 5. Now, again, size of town, I think, has it is a serious consideration to take on that. But if we can, we table it, not table it, but put it aside for now, maybe at some point in the future, near future, later on in the program, we decide we want to do it, it might be a good idea. Other communities seem to function with it very well.
Yep,
Gene, I
agreed.
just pulled up some information to your initial question about the process and timing. Charter Commission is dictated by statute, chapter 43B. The work of the commission can involve 18 to 24 months. Charter Commission, the process to form a charter commission is initiated when 15% of the voters petition the Board of Selectmen to order a local ballot question on whether to adopt a new charter or to revise or amend an existing charter. Once a petition and signatures are certified, Selectmen have 30 days to adopt the order and place the question on the ballot of the next regular election, which may not be within the ensuing 60 days. When votes are cast on the question of forming a charter commission, votes are simultaneously cast to elect the 9 commission members who qualify for nomination through the collection of voter signatures. So it goes on and on. You're looking at a 2-year process just to get the commission created and filled.
Hey, like I said, it's a, hey, what do you think?
No, I know.
Yes.
I just wanted to answer your initial question on what the
Thank
process
you.
is and the timing.
No,
Yeah,
thank
so-
you.
So it's not an easy process, but I think I can say, I think I can speak for all 3 of us to say, if we think it benefits the town of Nahant, we'll do it. It's, because something's difficult, should never be an excuse to not take it on. So, I don't wanna lean on the fact that it's a difficult process as a reason for not taking it on. I think, we should continue to ponder it. And, we think it's, benefits the town in some substantial way, then we should take it on. But right now, that's not the way I feel. I feel like, the lean board of 3 members is probably more practical.
On that part, as far as communities with less than 5,000 population of the 15 that we pulled, again, a lot of these are going to be out west. A lot of our neighboring communities have a higher population, so that's why you see those 5-member boards. But of the 15, 12 of them have 3-member boards, and 3 of them have 5-member boards. The closest town with a 5-member board and less than 5,000 population is Wenham.
Huh.
All right, so let's continue to consider it an option for the future. And I'm glad we had the discussion. I know, it's something you've been thinking about, Gene. So glad we had the chance to talk about it. And if we want to bring it up again in the future, let's do it.
I think knowing the process is very beneficial. I'm glad that we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
thank you for having the discussion.
Yeah, and thank you, Gene, for bringing it up. The next topic to discuss is consider the changing of the name of the Board of Selectmen to Select Board. Rob, you brought this up, so would you like to introduce the topic?
Well, obviously it's little more than a clerical change, in my opinion, and I think it's entirely appropriate for the world we live in. I don't know of too many boards around. I can honestly say I didn't check to see how many boards still refer to themselves as selectmen, but it's my impression that in at least the immediate area that they are all referring to themselves as select board members. And I think, again, given the time that we live in, I think it's an appropriate change.
Oh, in the research that I did on the selectmen's positions, Robbie, you're so right. From let's say Milton all the way out through Newburyport, everybody is a select board.
Mhm.
So would be, if we did this, we'd be a little late in the program, but nonetheless getting it done.
Dan, can you tell us how this would work?
Of course, much simpler. It's not a composition change, so it's not considered a major change. It's a minor change, and it would involve nothing more than a 2/3 vote at the town meeting after an article and motion, and then a ballot vote in the next annual election. Very simple. We've done this process many times before, so we're familiar with it. When it's all said and done between town meeting vote and the next election, I think what, Tony, about 9 months is a difference between those two dates, something along those lines, maybe 10, 11 months. So much quicker than a commission issue, a charter commission issue, I should say.
I guess my thoughts are, I suppose I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but and I wordsmithing things without a real benefit. I'm not a huge fan of, but if this is a case where people feel more comfortable or it feels more inclusive or it would encourage participation, then I'm all for it. The three of us are volunteers, and the more people that volunteer, this is what makes the town work. And if it makes people feel more included or less excluded, or I'm 100%.
But Josh, I think given what Dan just described as a procedure, it's so easy just to ask the town what it wants. And no cost, it's just easy to do. Let's just ask the question.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I'm glad you brought and framed it that way, Rob, because just as a reminder for everybody, that's what we're doing. The town votes on what they want to spend money on and what they want to do, and that's what our job is to figure out how to get it done. So I'm in favor. So I guess maybe we should vote on that at the next meeting?
Oh, that's really a town meeting thing, so we'll address it when the next town meeting comes around.
We'll put an article on the warrant then.
Yeah.
Article
exactly.
1.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
maybe not one, but
Maybe not one.
Yeah. But we'll get it on there. It's thanks for bringing that up, Rob. And I definitely want everyone to feel part of the process, and so sounds good. Thank you.
Everything to gain, nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Ongoing business. We have to vote to amend the vote for early voting for the state primary election. Someone want to take that motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to clarify and approve the early voting schedule for the state primary election on September 3rd, 2024 as follows. August 24th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. August 26th, 2024 to August 29th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. August 30th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. All voting will take place at the Nahant Town Hall at 334 Nahant Road.
Seconded.
Any discussion? I guess I'll say that one was easier than when we voted on this last time. Diane, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm just here to clarify that you got it right.
Okay, good.
If you have any
Thank
questions, I'm happy to answer them. The other thing that the Board of Selectmen needs to vote on the early voting if it's a reduced from what the state mandates, and we can reduce it because we're less than 5,000 voters. But just to add to it, not something you need to vote on, but the last day to register to vote for the state primary on Tuesday, September 3rd is also Saturday, August 24th from 9 to 5.
Let's see, that's a Saturday. Yes, that's a Saturday.
Yep.
Basically, early voting on Saturday the 24th, and then Monday through
Thursday,
Thursday, the next week.
and then Friday, 9 to 12.
Okay, yeah, okay, great. So same as town hall hours that week. All right, well, thanks for being here and supporting us today. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Diane.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Coast Guard housing update. This is a surplus and deposition vote to see if the select board, already with the select board, or board of selectmen will vote to declare in surplus available for deposition the town-owned property located at 294 Castle Road, Lot 1, 298. Castle Road, Lot 3, 114 Gardner Road, Lot 5, 7 Goddard Drive, Lot 7, 9 Goddard Drive, Lot 9, and 1 Goddard Drive, Lot 11. I pretty much read the whole motion. But,
We second.
I guess I'll just read the whole motion, okay? I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to declare surplus and available for deposition the town-owned property at 294 Castle Road, Lot 1, 298 Castle Road, Lot 3, 114 Gardner Road, Lot 5, 7 Goddard Drive, Lot 7, 9 Goddard Drive, Lot 9, and 1 Goddard Drive, Lot 11. We have a second.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, yes, never mind.
Okay, we have a second. Okay, probably a lot to talk about here. Tony, is there anything you wanna chime in on? I know you've been working really hard on this.
Yes, I wonder if it makes sense for you guys to, I'll just give a quick brief summary, then allow you guys to finish your vote, and then I can get further in depth on everything else associated with the next steps of the process.
Yeah, okay.
So Article 20 in 2021 town meeting authorized the Board of Selectmen to sell 12 individual lots at the old Coast Guard housing property. And the motion had a couple elements to it. It stated that the Board of Selectmen shall sell the lots over in 2 offerings over 2 years of alternating lots. It also adds deed restrictions, 3 deed restrictions, that there's a floor area ratio maximum of 25%, that the lots cannot be combined, and that with any other lot, and prohibiting any single individual entity group from purchasing more than 1 lot. So when in our town, when we have a vote to authorize the sale of town property, it triggers a process with the Town-Owned Land Study Committee, which will then review the proposal and provide a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. Through that process, we completed that tonight. The Town-Owned Land Study Committee voted unanimously in favor of a recommendation to authorize the Board of Selectmen to offer the property up for sale according to the town meeting vote. And they also, in that motion, recommended setting a minimum price value in the RFP. That's something that you guys don't have to vote on, but I'll explain how we got there after you guys finish your initial vote, and I can go through, what those minimum values are going to be and what the next step of the process is. The lots that you just mentioned are all the odd lots, so it satisfies the alternating lot sequence identified in the town meeting motion. And I'll stop there. So that way you guys, if you have any questions or anything, I can.
Yeah, so, well, obviously, this is something that, we've all spent a great deal of time on. Yeah, obviously, you and I, Tony, have been talking a lot about this and meeting with KP Law on the process of, the sale process, and, you know, just so everyone knows, it's quite different from, because it's, selling municipal property. There's a lot of different criteria you have to meet, so, we'll be getting a lot of help on that from KP Law, and, I think we're, ready to go. Gene or Rob, did you have anything to add, to discussion before we vote?
Are we going to go through the process, Tony?
Yeah, it's lengthy though, and you know, there's a lot to talk about, so I just figured you guys could finish your motion on the floor here, and then
You
I
know,
can get into that.
Why don't we, Tony, if you don't mind, let's have the discussion first and
Okay.
then vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
let's do that.
All right,
Um,
so the town initiated an appraisal process in February for lot 1, lot 6, and lot 7. We wanted to get an appraisal for a property one on Castle, one on Gardner, and one on Goddard. All three of those appraisals in February, in this early spring market of this calendar year, came back with a value of $495,000. Now we are in August, and the process of advertising this procurement called, because of the amount of property that we're selling, we have to post it into the central register. The deadline to make next week's publication is tomorrow night at 4:00, tomorrow afternoon. And if we are able to submit the documents, which I believe we will be able to, that means the advertisement will start live on Wednesday next week. That advertisement has to be live for 30 days. And then we also have to advertise twice within that time period in our local newspaper. And a couple other advertising requirements under Chapter 30B. Which would allow us to 30 days later begin the process of accepting and reviewing offers. We had a couple different options on how to handle that process, and after reviewing those options, we elected to go with a staggered weekly bid opening process. So again, should we be able to submit tomorrow? The deadline for submission for lot number 1 would be Tuesday, September 17th. A week later, the 24th, would be lot number 3. A week later, October 1st, would be lot number 5. And then so on and so forth, one every week. So 6 weeks in a row, every Tuesday, and it'll be an afternoon deadline, and that'll be in the RFP. On each of those weekly deadlines, we will be opening the sealed bids live in public here in the town hall, where we, due to procurement law, have to announce the name of the bidder and the amount that they're bidding. The town will evaluate, again, so we'll announce all the bids that we receive and what the amounts are. Then over the next 24 to 48 hours, our real estate attorney will review those proposals for the highest of the best offers. So there's the other element beyond price is whatever contingencies or financing are included in that proposal. The town is in a unique position of needing to raise or bring in and pay off $1.83 million by January 10th. So, until we, as we're going through this process, as we are evaluating proposals that are submitted, the best and highest offer may be evaluated a little bit differently than after we raise $1.83 million in proposals. That being said, because offers that are able to close in a quicker manner, that have sound financing or cash offer, are going to be viewed as the most valuable at that point in time. After we select or award the bid, and it's hard to say how many lots that will take. Then we can evaluate proposals and the timing of which those proposals can close a little bit differently. So it's important that if anyone paying attention, interested, that if you are planning to submit a bid, you want to get all your ducks in a row as soon as possible, so you can submit the most competitive proposal. And again, that based on the schedule that we're proposing, should we be able to submit tomorrow, the first bid process for lot number 1 will be Tuesday, September 17th.
That's the opening of the envelopes date, right?
Right. So again, I don't want to put a time out there because it'll be listed in the RFP. Hypothetically, if the deadline is 2:30 here at the town hall, and the RFP will say exactly how your proposal should be submitted, in a sealed envelope with the lot number on the outside, what information you should be including in your proposal, where it needs to be dropped off, by what time. Anything that's submitted after that deadline can't be considered for review. If that deadline, hypothetically speaking, was 2:30, by 3 o'clock, we are in the main hall opening those envelopes. And then a week later, we're doing lot number 3. And then a week later, lot number 5, and so on and so forth.
Tony, will the marketing piece provide any kind of directional information to people as to how the process is going to work?
Yes. Our RFP documents will lay out all of that information, what the process is, how to submit a bid, what information we're looking for, all of that. And then we're also doing a lot of work on the front end to include in the RFP a lot of elements of potential concern for potential bidders. So we have title commitment being worked on, a phase 1 environmental analysis of the property. We have a permitting analysis, a zoning analysis, a utilities information. We have marking plan or marketing plan that shows what your setbacks are. So because of the 25% floor area ratio maximum, it'll say, how big the lot is. And based on 25% of that, what's the max size square foot floor area ratio number for those particular lots. It'll show you what the setbacks are. On the permitting analysis and zoning analysis, there's mostly all of these lots are outside of the flood zone, so it's pretty standard building permit process. Most likely, they'll all trigger the stormwater bylaw process. And the last two lots on Goddard Drive, 10 and 12, which are not included in this initial offering, I believe may trigger the local wetlands buffer zone. So there would be a local process on those with Concom. But I don't believe any of the odd lots trigger any of that, wetlands buffer zone or, having to do an NOI or an RDA with the Concom. So they're pretty straightforward. We're trying to put, a lot of that information in the RFP so that prospective buyers are, as comfortable and confident as possible to submit competitive bids.
Which ones are subject to floodplain?
None of them. Only lot number 10 and 12, I believe, the 100-foot local buffer zone might overlap a portion of those.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's just, if I remember the map correctly, 10 and 12 have the buffer zone sort of passing through like the golf course corner of the properties, but not, I think it is outside of the footprint available for building. In other words, if you look at the map with the setbacks superimposed on it, I think the buffer zone was in the setback region, if you follow me.
Tony, if you could one more time, you're a buyer, prospective buyer, you're putting in an offer, take it from there to close.
So, you're going to submit a price. First of all, you need to submit on time in order to qualify.
Yep.
You need to submit a price that's going to be above the minimum threshold. And then you're going to want to submit, any and all contingencies related to financing or anything else. And we're going to evaluate what your proposal is in order to determine what's the best and highest offer.
Who is we?
Well, our real estate attorney from KP Law will do that. We'll do that evaluation.
Thank you.
And the contingency portion is really the important takeaway for anybody who's listening. There will be a postcard mailing to everybody in Nahant coming out soon. The lots will be marked soon. All that information about the setbacks and zoning analysis and all that stuff will be available shortly. But it's really important for people to understand that I'm making up numbers, but a $500,000 bid contingent upon me selling the house is not the same as a $500,000 cash bid. Right. So this will be enumerated, but there's sort of a sequence of preferences, cash, I've forgotten the terms now.
Pre-commitment, pre-approval, pre-qualified, and then other contingencies. And then there's other elements, if you are coming in with financing, what are the terms of that financing? What's your split between your down payment and what you're financing? There's a lot of different elements on how to grade the level of financing terms as to what's the most solid offer to the town.
Where does the sale of your own home lie?
Bottom, the very bottom.
I mean, at least, like I said, at least in the beginning, Gene, that the way that our award will be based on, best and highest offer. In the beginning, when we're really, trying to close $1.83 million before the end of the calendar year so we can pay off the debt January 10th. A contingency of not being able to close until you sell your property until much later than that isn't going to be very competitive. Vice versa, once we pay off our loan, pay off our debt, you know, that may not be as much of an issue, but there's the other elements of, you know, what else is included in your proposal and what are you competing against?
How's the bidding set up? How many, is there a certain number of bids, a cutoff date? Not on the date itself, but on the number of bids per property?
Nope, no limit on how many bids we can accept. It just
Okay.
has to be properly submitted by the terms of the RFP.
Yeah. A lot of work.
And
Good job. A lot of work.
One of the reasons we, you know, opted to do a staggered approach versus, you know, one bid opening where people submit offers on any of the 6 lots that are up for sale is that, you know, we have lot 1 is due September 17th. We open it that day. We, you know who the apparent high bidder is, but within 24 to 48 hours, we'll be selecting the best and highest offer. So within 24 or 48 hours, you'll know if you're not that person, and you can then, you know, submit a bid for the next lot the following week. So we wanted to be able to give people the opportunity to, you know, adjust for the market as well.
Yeah. Makes sense. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous amount of work. I've been on Zoom calls, a couple of the Zoom calls that Tony's had with KP Law, the real estate attorneys, and it's a complicated process and it's a huge amount of work, and the end is in sight. Tomorrow we submit the paperwork for the announcement, and it's finally happening, and you know, happy to see it come into fruition.
KP was the way to go. It's for many reasons, but more in fact, the amount of money it's saving the town.
Yeah,
I think it's also very reassuring to me that KP has a good amount of history in this type of transaction with municipalities. That was the question for me is I couldn't believe that this was unique. Certainly unique for Nahant, but I couldn't believe that it could, there had to be somebody out there that really had some experience on it, and KP is the way to go.
Right.
they definitely do have that experience, and even if we had hired a real estate broker, they still would have had to go through all this same stuff because of the 30B requirements. So, it wouldn't. It's a complicated process because of 30B requirements, and there's even we have to get FAA clearance for these lots. So Logan Airport aircraft won't hit your new house. So who would even think of that? But anyway, really pleased that we've gotten here. It's been a long road, not an easy road. So I commend all you guys.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion or background on this before we vote?
I can talk a little bit about the pricing.
Sure.
So as I mentioned earlier, and I went through a lot of this in the Town and Land Study Committee meeting, we had an appraisal done back in February. Again, those came in at $495 for lots 1, 6, and 7. I had our appraiser take a relook at some comps to see if anything else is sold in the last 6 months, see what the market's doing today. He was able to pull a couple more comps, still found the 495 number to be pretty solid. I've also met with a number of realtors locally in town to see what their thought is on comps and what we should be at the minimum price. there's a lot of different factors in how you set your minimum price. It's not just comps. So first of all, there's not a lot to compare to. You know, there's not many 10,000 square foot buildable cleared land opportunities in Nahant. But secondly, because it's land, and if there is financing involved, that can add another element to you know, how big your buyer pool can be, because it's not your standard financing through a bank that's used to, you know, providing that sort of thing, you know, for a home that's already built. So there's, you know, is it being done through a construction loan type of scenario or others? Without having a real estate agent on board, our marketing ability is somewhat limited. So, you know, how big of a net are we casting to make people aware that these properties are coming up for sale? You know, we're doing our best to cast as wide a net as possible and get as much of this information out there. And we're going to be doing a lot of that over the next month. But that, you know, you have to factor that in, that you may not be capturing the entire world of MLS and Zillow and things of that nature if we don't end up going on there. We also looked at construction price costs per square foot, spoke to a couple builders, the building inspector, and got some estimated price on that to kind of back into, you know, what your all-in price would be after purchasing the lot and building a home. You know, a lot of that is dependent on how big of a home you're going to build, and if you're spending less on the house, you may be able to spend more on the land. So there's a lot of different elements. So while we're at $495 for our appraised value, looking at the current market, what we've decided to do is price these lower than the appraised value. There's no harm in being too low, because the market should correct itself.
Hey, Tony,
Yep.
one subtle correction, minimum bid, not sell price, or I forget what you just said, but yeah, we're setting a minimum bid, not this is what it's selling for. There's a subtle difference there.
Yeah, no, major difference. The minimum bid price that's acceptable. So we're coming in lower than what the appraised value is, and after looking at the comps and understanding all the different elements of construction costs and, you know, marketing and financing and all of that, the proposed minimum bid value, which Town and Land Study Committee approved tonight unanimously, is lot number 1, $425,000. Lot number 3, $450,000. The reason for the jump up there is lot number 3 is around 11,000 square feet, whereas lot number 1 is 10,000 square feet. So because of the 25% floor area ratio maximum, you can build a little bit of a bigger house. You can get almost a 2,900 square foot structure there, compared to lot number 1, it's, you know, at 2,500 square feet. Lot number 5 at $425,000. Lot number 5 is on the corner of Gardner and Castle. It's a little bit of an awkward lot. And it's 10,000 square feet. And then back up to 450,000 for lot number 7. Lot number 9, 500,000. It's a larger lot as well on Goddard Drive. And lot number 11, 475. That one's also on Goddard Drive. So the other thing that we're going to include, that we can include, I double checked with KP Law, is we can amend the reserve or the minimum bid price during the process. But when you do that through an addendum, it requires a 2-week notice. So after the first two openings, if we think that we need to amend the minimum bid price number, we can issue an addendum and have it published for 2 weeks. And then it can go into effect for the last three lots, lots 7, 9, and 11. You know, in my opinion, I like to have that ability. I really only think that it would, you know, I'm not positive, but I think the only need for it would be if we would have to reduce the minimum price. Because as I said, the market should correct itself. So I don't really see us needing to increase the minimum price. But, you know, for some reason, if we need to reduce it, we have that ability after the first two lots, after the first two openings for lot 1 and lot 3. So those are the minimum prices that we're going to be including in the RFP. Minimum bid price. And then after the vote, I don't know, well, I have, Castle Road was another item that we really had to take a long look at too, but I have that, on the agenda. We can get into that after the vote. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready to vote. Rob, Jean, anything else before we vote?
Not here.
I'm overwhelmed by how large a project this truly is, and all of the safeguards that need to be in place. And I feel very, very good about the path that Tony has taken us on this, and believe this is very much the right thing to be doing. So that's it.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, you know, from the outside looking in, you think, what's the big deal? Just sell the lots, but it definitely is not that simple. There's a lot of factors, and you're going to hear about more after we vote. Changes to Castle Road, for example. So with that, are we ready to vote? Okay, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. It's happening.
Big step.
All right. So let's keep talking about the same thing. Take us to the Castle Road change.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm first going to pull up the A&R that went through the planning board process. And talk about a couple of the items that, you know, we've run into and that we're, you know, trying to fix. We're doing that through an 81X plan, and we're going to have that included in the RFP documents. I'll start off with the end of Goddard Road. This dotted line here where my mouse is the edge of the current pavement. As you can see, the turning easement that was included in the A&R extended to the edge of the property line. But if you go out there now, especially now that vegetation has been removed, you'll see that this is a pretty steep, probably 10-foot slope down to the edge of the property line. So having a turning easement here isn't ideal. It would be difficult to construct. So we worked with Hayes Engineering, who produced the A&R. First, we wanted to understand, you know, any changes to this, you know, what would the process be to do that? They assured us that, you know, changing these easements would not require another A&R because it doesn't affect the lot lines or the square footage of the lots. So we're able to kind of clean this up. We talked about moving the turning easement to the west and having it end at the end of the existing pavement, but that would push the easement into lot number 9. And because the easement doesn't affect square footage and doesn't affect your setbacks, it wouldn't necessarily restrict lot number 12 in theory, but essentially you'd be forcing someone to build kind of further into this tighter corner of lot number 12, because otherwise, if they build, you know, where the, you know, for instance, the current property is, it'd be like right on top of the turning easement. So an alternative option was to do a hammerhead style turnaround. which keeps the easement in lot 10 and 12. And it actually keeps it within, the dimensions of the previous proposed turning easement. So seems like the right way to go. Doesn't affect lot number 9, doesn't squeeze lot number 12 in any way. It's more in line with what's existing, and we don't have to worry about the slope at the end of the road. So that's one element that Hayes is working on. The other
Before you leave
is
this page, Tony, just wanted to point out that the dashed lines of the houses are the existing houses, not where you could put a new house. So in other words, they don't reflect the setbacks. So just wanted to point that out because it looks like, oh, why is that house so close to the lot line? It won't be in, when the houses are built.
right, and I'll show that too in a second. The other element was this roadway and sidewalk easement along Castle Road. The way that this plan, was created was to ensure that these were buildable lots, 10,000 square foot lots. Actually, immediately after, or shortly, somewhere close to when the town meeting took their vote, and we went to go do this, this edge of Castle Road was, which extends into the existing roadway, still had not been formally transferred from the federal government to the town of Nahant. So we had to solve that problem. Then, looking at this plan, this front line of these properties on Castle Road is actually extending into Castle Road. You can see the dotted line here is the edge of the existing pavement. So they extend about, a foot into the road with an easement for the sidewalk running through front yards. Again, doesn't affect the total square footage. The easement doesn't affect the total square footage of the lot or affect the setbacks, but not ideal and could, devalue the properties when we go to sell them. So what we've had, Hayes Engineering, or actually, I'm sorry, Stantec, traffic engineers design is, moving the sidewalk into the street, narrowing the width of Castle Road, which would bring the sidewalk, I'll show that plan in a moment. It'll bring the sidewalk down to flat ground. It will shrink the width of the road, which is a traffic calming measure in a school zone. And it brings the front property line as designed on the plan in line with what you would actually see, out there on site. So I'm gonna pull up that other plan real quick. So Josh, this is what you were referring to. This is not finalized. I have to correct these. These are 2014 maps, flood zone lines. I got to get that corrected by Hayes, but you can see in, outlined in blue are the properties that we're talking about. This details what's in yellow is where where you are able to build after your yard requirements, yard dimension requirements, your setbacks. So this is this will be included too. It shows this hammerhead turnaround, and this will be included in the RFP document so people can, better visualize where they can build on the property. It also shows, for instance, lot number 1, 10,000 square feet, what your frontage is, and then what, based on the 25% floor area ratio, what, the size house you can build there. And now I will go to Castle Road. So you might have to squint your eyes a little bit to kind of see through this plan, but essentially what we're talking about here is when you get to after you get to the entrance driveway for the Johnson School, the sidewalk bump out, and then be a flat sidewalk with a 12-foot wide roadway. This crosswalk is existing, but the ramps would be rebuilt. Adding a ramp and crossing here at Gardner, improving this sight line with redimensions in this area. This is a flush mounted stamped island. It's not something it's something you can drive over. We were worried about, emergency vehicles being able to get through here. But it's better, again, I don't know if you guys have witnessed it, I'm sure, but if you're coming into Castle Road, taking a left on Gardner, oftentimes, people just keep driving straight and take a left. And meanwhile, someone coming down Gardner, in this direction, taking a left on the Castle, cuts this tight. It's always somewhat hairy in this intersection. So this stamped flush mounted island would encourage people traveling towards Bass Point on Castle Road to, lean to the right and then take a left, and also encourage people on Gardner taking a left on the Castle to take it wide. These properties are elevated by like a foot or 2 or 3 from Castle Road. So the sidewalk is elevated and it's not exactly flat, as I mentioned. And so, bringing the sidewalk down to the road level, it'll be a nice flat, solid sidewalk. I think that, in the past, extending the narrowing effort of this road all the way to the exit driveway of the school wouldn't be a bad idea for us to look at. Again, it slows down traffic, and in this area by the school, it would be really helpful. I think, over in that area, I'm digressing, but over in that area, parking there used to be a market there, so parking was necessary. It's not there anymore. You could still offer some parking, but it may not need to be as wide in that area. So I like this because it eliminates any sort of issues with the property owners, future property owners, and it's, makes Castle Road safer for those walking to school.
Tony,
Yes.
can I just speak to that for a sec? You mentioned extending that down as far as the exit from the school parking lot. The intersection of Flash Road and Castle is also a nasty area as far as cars that come up over the hump, just be back towards the market. There's a little bit of a rise there, and they come over that, and they're immediately on top of that intersection. At the same time, you've got to your right cars that are coming down the hill that can be a little difficult to see also. So I wouldn't rule out having some similar thoughts as far as maybe extending it as far as that corner, just to try to get people to slow down in the school zone.
Definitely. As far as construction here goes, I would recommend that we don't construct this until after utility connections are completed for the future property owners. You don't want to dig this up right after you build it. But I thought it was important that we got this plan engineered and included so that prospective buyers, that's one more concern that is alleviated if they're thinking about buying this property. We also would like to remove the existing sidewalk over the next couple weeks and install some temporary crossings so that's another concern that prospective buyers or builders may have is, they don't want people walking through their property during construction. It's a liability for them. So I think this will help alleviate some of those concerns. Yeah.
Looks great. Let's see, is my,
Great.
A lot of planning.
Dean, do you have any questions or comments on that part?
No, I don't. That plan is well thought out, and I'm sure going to be accepted by everybody.
Okay, so I also went through, a little bit of the timeline, but again, just to kind of recap it. We get the, RFP into the Central Register tomorrow. It's published, on Wednesday, the 14th. We get our first publication in the newspaper on Monday, the 19th, our second on Monday, the 22nd, 26th. During that time frame, we're also going to be hosting a couple site visits. We'll also be hosting a public meeting for prospective buyers, builders, agents, banks, financiers, if they want to, if anyone that may want to like learn more about what's happening here, so we can answer some of those questions. Then deadline for submission of questions, because of Chapter 30B, all questions had to be submitted in writing. And then we have to submit our answers in writing and publish those, so all prospective bidders have equal information. So when we do those site visits or that public meeting, we'll be recording those and including that information as an addendum to the RFP. But the deadline for submitting questions on the RFP, again in writing, would be September 6th. We're going to have an email address. It's cghsale@nahant.org, where those questions can be submitted. The bid documents can be downloaded at nahant.org/bids. And then we'll also have a web page with more information about this entire process, which would be nahant.org/CGH-sale. Then again, so the first lot, the deadline for the submission of for the proposals for lot number 1 would be Tuesday, September 17th. We would select a buyer for lot number 1, and notice to that buyer would occur by Thursday of that week, 2 days later, the 19th. The following week, Tuesday, the 24th, is the deadline submission for lot number 3. Selection of the buyer, notice to the bidder would happen Thursday, September 26th. Lot number 5 is Tuesday, October 1 is the deadline for submission, and then the selection would be 2 days later, Thursday, October 3rd. Lot number 7 is Tuesday, October 8th for the deadline of submission and the bid opening, and then the selection and notice to the bidder would happen on Thursday, October 10th. Deadline for submission for lot 9 is Tuesday, October 15th. Selection of the buyer for lot 9 and notice to the bidder would be 2 days later, Thursday, October 17th. And then finally, Tuesday, October 22nd would be the deadline for submission for lot number 11. And the selection of the buyer for lot number 11 and notice to the bidder would happen by Thursday, October 24th. As I mentioned, it's anywhere from 30 to 50 days or less for closing. And that process, is staggered with each of the bid openings as well.
Tony, an important piece that just came to mind. How's the commission base work on this with the realtors? Are we paying the commission? Is the buyer paying the commission?
Correct.
And
So
what is the
that'll be in the bid document as well. It'll say that the town will not be paying buyer's commission. So that would be the responsibility of the bidder.
great, excellent. Is there a commission rate?
Nope.
So it's just up to whatever the realtor settles with the buyer.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
There's no there's no timeline either on how fast you need to build. There's nothing in the article or direction from town meeting that says you have to build right away. There is, once you pull a building permit, once you get a building permit, you need to utilize that within the 6-month time period. Again, a lot of that information is going to be in the permitting analysis that we're putting together.
Great. Is that it, Tony?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Let's move on to the short-term rental regulations update. We shared that, is that last time we met? Or we looked at those regulations?
I think it was a couple of meetings ago.
Couple meetings ago, yeah. And we currently have a comment period open, right? So
No,
we can.
not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Not yet. What we did, we presented the latest draft at the last meeting, took comments from the Board of Selectmen, met with the building inspector and town council on those suggested edits. Dan, I don't know if I have that or if you have that.
I have it in front of me right here. I emailed it to you earlier today, but I can go through it pretty simply. There aren't many changes, substantive that is, to the last rules draft you guys have. I can go through them very quickly. We added a few sort of legalese terms in terms of bedrooms being legal bedrooms. It doesn't really have a big effect. It's just clarifying. What do you have there? Okay, good. Yeah, that's what we have. So, hold on, let me pull it up my screen. So if you look at section 5B, the number of dwelling units and the number of legal bedrooms, because not all bedrooms are legal, you need egress and things like that. And a bigger change, if you look at section 5, subsection D, we changed 6 hours of notice period to 1 hour of notice period, which basically says if someone notifies your agent or yourself of an issue at your short-term rental, you have an hour to respond. It was 6 hours, and there was some pushback on that the last meeting, so we decided to change that to 1 hour.
Very
that
happy
actually
to see that change.
Yeah, I figured you would be. That comes up twice in these draft changes. Now, a big one, and I'm going to push this off to Rob to explain. If you look at section 6, we added a criterion in terms of part 12 regarding what they call a chapter 34 review that emanates from the building/residential code. So I'm gonna throw it to Rob Thibault to explain that, because that's his baby right there.
Okay, yeah, what really caught my eye on this was a requirement that's used in Fall River as far as when a short-term rental is first licensed. And they jump right on it the same way. And what they're recognizing is that the residential code, which is the guide for how our common houses are all built, and they're designed assuming that the predominant use or the primary use is going to be long-term. There are different requirements if you change that use to what is primarily transient. And so what they're trying to do is identify where those changes need to be updated, or where those things, what needs to be updated for that change of use. And it has everything to do with life safety code. Under the residential code, the design of a home anticipates that you can use it and I'm going to read from it here. You can use it for small bed and breakfast style hotels where there are 5 or fewer guest rooms and the hotel is owner occupied. Outside of that, the residential code really doesn't anticipate a fully transient use. So once again, there needs to be an update. How do we identify those updates? Well, Wayne is very good at what he does, and I'm sure he would catch an awful lot of it. But I think the burden is better placed on the individual who wants to license this and create this small hotel-like business to make sure that these changes are identified and that they are any shortcomings are corrected. And that is all part of the Chapter 34 review process. And what that process requires is that you have an architect, licensed architect, or other building design professional come into your property, identify the type of use that you are moving it to, and then apply building code requirements, again, life safety requirements, to ensure that the occupants are going to be safe, not just the occupants, but by helping to keep the occupants safe, you're also helping first responders stay safe. And we have a number of situations where we move out of that category, out of the residential code, because there's either no owner present at the time that it's being rented out, or there's basically no owner ever present in the cases of the non-owner occupied dwelling units. The owner occupied units are, in some cases, we actually have people that are on site with it, and as long as it's 5 or fewer bedrooms, they are perfectly fine to do that. But once you go to 6 bedrooms, well, you've stepped outside the code. Once the owner is not going to be present while the dwelling is being rented, you've stepped outside the code. And all we're asking is that the upgrades be identified, if any, and corrections be made prior to licensing.
And I think, Bob, we should point out, this is state law. This is not something Nahant is doing. This is just what comes out of, the Beacon Hill. So this is not our own sort of twist on things. This is just basically repeating what's already the law.
Yes, exactly. And quite honestly, I don't want anybody to think we're the only ones doing it, because like I said, this Fall River is doing the exact same thing. And I believe that there are other communities out in Western Mass that are doing it also.
Who was it we just met with, Tony, that is going to help us with inspectional services and dollars?
That's
That
on the
was
on the public health side.
Is
the
that
pub-
something, is there a start date on that for inspections or licensing?
Yeah, I mean, we've already been utilizing it. We signed with the vote the other day, we signed the agreement to join formally join that regional effort. But
Right.
we've been sharing resources as far as inspectors go, and inspection, typical inspections of like restaurants and function halls go. We've been doing that already, so that's
but we haven't started the process of registering short-term rentals, and therefore are not yet inspecting those rentals, and that process will be taking place in the fall.
Mhm.
In the fall?
Mm-hmm.
And we should point out that the inspection that Rob was suggesting in part 12 is a one-time inspection, a one-time review that happens when the short-term rental is originally registered. So I need to add that language in here, but Rob and I talked about that after I sent this, so. And one more change I want to add to mention to you guys, it's a due process issue. You look at section 4 up above. 4A. In the event of a revocation, the owner will be afforded a hearing before the Board of Selectmen within 14 days of that revocation. And that's just something that comes out of due process, because to some degree, an owner might say they have a right to this registration. If we deprive them of it, then they get a hearing.
Nice. So I think the plan is we'll put these regulations up on nahant.org and have a comment period extending for 30 days. How's that sound for everybody? It dovetails well with then getting then we'll vote on these and then begin the registration process.
Sounds very fair.
It's fine here.
Tony, anything to add?
No, that sounds good. So that would bring us to Friday, September 6th. Which is good because then our next meeting would be Wednesday, September 18th. So that kind of gives us a week to review, any comments that come in and, put us in a position to approve the regs on the 18th.
Sounds great. Let's do that. So when can we get these up? On Nahant.org?
Well, I would either do. So we're also going to be publishing, the extension period on the fee schedule. So to not confuse people, I'd like to do one of them tomorrow and one of them Friday.
Sure.
I don't think it matters really which order.
Nope. Sounds great. Yeah, another one that's a long time coming. So glad we're getting these out there, and hopefully if people have concerns, they will provide their input or questions, comments. All right, if there's nothing else on that, next up is preserving East Point. Quick update there. There was a hearing on August 2nd with Judge Karp, and the outcome of that hearing was another hearing, which is scheduled for September 6th. And the purpose of this hearing on September 6th is for both parties, the town of Nahant and Northeastern University, to file statements on issues of law. So this is regarding the damages claim. So any issues of whether the damages are essentially legal would be heard at this hearing on September 6th. So it would not be a decision on the amounts of the damages, but whether the basis for those damages is a legal basis. So that's the next thing coming up. It sounds like there would be a period of a few months of I won't say inactivity, but due to the judge going on his criminal duty cycle for a few months. There probably wouldn't be another hearing for a few months after that September 6th hearing. So that's really all I had. Is there any questions? Gene or Mark?
None here.
Okay. All right. Town administrator's report. Reported on a lot of stuff, don't you? Anything lingering?
No, we have, if you saw the Lynn item article today, we've done also a lot of vegetation removal along Tri Mountain Road, which is funded through a fire prevention grant that Chief Antrim successfully got for the town. $20,000 grant with $5,000 matching. Zach, the DPW crew, are moving pretty quickly along there, and the edge of Tri Mountain Road is, seeing quite the facelift through that effort, and we're eliminating the fence along Tri Mountain Road. We're going to be seeding that bank so it's got, so it's grassed, and then we're going to keep some fence on the retaining wall that's on the lower side of Tri Mountain Road, but that entire area is going to be upgraded, and it was nice way to take a grant that has a public safety benefit to it and then, utilize it to also beautify the area. So that's going along well. We also,
Thanks to the chief.
yep.
All hail chief. Yeah, I mean that I can't. Well, you've been not just because he's my nephew, but I love it. I mean, Tony, you and I talk about this practically every day. I can't stop driving by there thinking how much I like it, and got a lot of positive feedback by residents of Tri Mountain Road, and I think it reflects our commitment to our limited open spaces here in Nahant. We're all working hard to we have such limited space, but we have beautiful limited open space, and we're gonna take good care of it. And I hope the citizens in Nahant are seeing the fruits of that commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks great. Hopefully people take a ride by and take a look at it, but once it's finished, it's gonna look even better, but it already looks amazing.
It really changed the neighborhood. I can't tell you. It's stunning when you drive down that road now. That old fence that had been there for, I know, at least my entire life and a lot more, is gone. And this space behind it is beautiful and it's usable. So I think this is a great step.
And we're forgetting about all the work the DPW did on that south side, the southeastern side.
Same
That's
thing. Yep.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I go up there frequently and look out across the harbor, and it's like it's such a beautiful little spot. We're now talking about the eastern side facing Ocean View, and it was literally a dump. It was filled with asphalt and chunks of concrete and inaccessible, and it's gorgeous. And so appreciative of the DPW and the Open Space Committee and the Community Preservation Committee for their commitment to that open space, and I know they're continuing to work on it. So
really nothing like that around here in the North Shore.
Yeah. Tony, I was very impressed with the recommended signage that are maybe going up at East Point soon, that describe the history of that area. And I wonder if we could follow some similar path to further identify the Fort Ruckman area as far as its history also.
Yeah, I defer to the Open Space Committee. They have really taken the lead on that. I think it looks the signage that they've are proposing for East Point looks amazing, and I think I believe their plan is to continue that effort over to Tri Mountain and Bailey's Hill.
Perfect.
But I would defer to them on that. But it looks great. We also have through SRF funding and our continued efforts to improve our wastewater system, water lines back in town, doing the watertight manhole covers in our priority 1 areas for II removal. They started on Willow Road earlier this week. Along that line, we also submitted another SRF loan application so that we can continue to do the work in the next annual cycle. Additional project funded with SRF funding is the Ward Road Pump Station. I think 2 or 3 of the 4 walls have been poured, and that project is moving right along, which is great. And then on coastal projects, 40 Steps Beach design and permitting process is ongoing. We're going to the Conservation Commission on the 21st. That meeting is at the same time as the next Board of Selectmen meeting. So we may want to adjust our next Board of Selectmen meeting so that we can, I don't know if you guys are interested in attending the Concom meeting to hear more about that project as well.
I would be.
like to be there too.
Yep, I do. I agree.
That's a hybrid meeting. It'll be in person and via Zoom. So
Probably make the, should probably do a joint meeting, given that two selectmen are gonna be there, just to be safe.
yeah, if
Probably be there too.
yeah, we can do it that way. And on Short Beach Mitigation Grant, we have I believe next week, on Wednesday, we have a meeting with FEMA and MEMA, and regulators from the state to find out, what's going on with our Short Beach Mitigation Grant application. So very, very, eager for that meeting. Hopefully we get some good news there. I don't know, what's to come in that meeting, but it seems like we're heading in the right direction on that grant program, so.
Hey, Tony, with all these projects we've had, we've left some roads in pretty tough shape. Is there for example, I get away from Emerald and go down Valley. Emerald is so bad and there's so many complaints about it. When is that going to be part of a repaving plan?
So Zach met with National Grid's contractor down there last week. Zach and I are going to be meeting next week to go over our paving capital plan. The work that was done there was just completed earlier this spring. Typically, you want those types of that trench work, especially Emerald, where it's so extensive and it goes, not only, down the street, but then every service line as
Right.
well. You typically want to let those trenches have a year of settling, or at least one winter season of settle. So Zach was talking with them about doing like a temporary patch to smoothen it out for now, but to do, a full curb to curb, repave on Emerald. Plus we also want to do sidewalks there too. We're looking at next calendar year, to do something like that.
Really?
At the earliest, I would say. You wouldn't want to do that this fall because again, those trenches are going to settle over the winter. Same thing goes for Lowlands neighborhood. All that work got done in the spring. That's, Castle Road, Lower Castle Road and Fox Hill Road, Board Road. Those areas also need some attention, but that's stuff that we're gonna work out that schedule next week. So we may do some temporary patching. Wilson Road as well. Don't forget about Wilson. National Grid did a gas main repair there too. So that was another thing that Zach talked to National Grid about. So we have, our Chapter 90 money, we have our local authorized appropriated money, and then we also should have some money coming in through National Grid. Usually we'll come up with an estimate, they'll give us a check and we'll just lump it in with our procurement, or they'll do it themselves. So working out those details. But that's everything I have.
Okay.
Council on Aging. Any chance we could have that come up next week, in 2 weeks?
With the kitchen stuff?
Yeah, just an update.
I don't know if it's ready for next week, but I'll try to get it up on the agenda sometime soon.
Thank you.
All right, town administrator, if that's all you have, next item on the agenda is citizens forum. So if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself, state your name and address, and we'll listen to your comments. I see Tom on an iPhone. Can you unmute yourself, Tom? If Tom's unable to unmute himself, is there anyone else that has a comment? I don't see anyone else, so one last chance, Tom. If you're unable to unmute yourself, maybe you could put a comment in the chat and Tony could read it for you. While Tom's doing that, Brendan. Want to unmute yourself? Go ahead, Brendan.
Brendan Bronick, Olmsted, 2 Summer Street, Nahant. Tony, I guess this is a follow-up question. A couple of months ago, I asked about the security cameras at the wharf, and I think you said the town was taking over control of them. Did that get done?
Rob, you might have a more recent update than I do on that.
Yeah, the camera over the wharf is fully functional, has been actually running very, very well for the last couple of months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I guess nothing in the chat, Tony.
Well, Tom's just saying he can't unmute, but I can't unmute him on my end.
Okay, well, Tom, can you type in your comment into chat?
He wrote, root cause of Castle Road issue is lot lines go into street.
Correct. Yep, I think that was explained. All right. Anything else? All right, so we are going to go into executive session and will not be returning. I will make that motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, 3A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, Northeastern University Marine Science Center, 430 Nahant Road, Nahant, and to discuss pending litigation strategy regarding the town of Nahant versus 3 Coast Guard housing tenants. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and I, the chair, do declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Gene
Josh,
can't
Andrew, aye. Rob's not
Rob
going to
Tip-
vote.
Rob Tibbo, aye.
All right, it's unanimous. We're going to go into executive session. We will not be returning to open session. So good night, everyone. Thank you. All right, how about a 2-minute break?
Yeah, I'll be back in 5.
All right, 5-minute break. All right.